News Now.
Welcome, everybody, to Nerd News Now.
I didn't know what was going on.
Yay!
Still don't know what's going on.
I'm really worried, honestly, that it's going to devolve into nothing but wrestling. Should we just do 30 seconds of other things first?
Wait. We've got to dedicate at least an hour to food.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, if we're going to talk about food, I bought one of these bottles because TikTok made me.
God.
What is it?
It's called a Circle.
Okay.
And it has these flavor pods you put in it to make it taste like Gatorade, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I have cut my Gatorade energy drink and pop budget in basically by like 90%.
Oh, well, then it was a good thing then.
Yeah, but I'm not used to TikTok telling me things that are helpful. So I was very standoffish about the Circle bottle until I saw the ads during March Madness. And I'm like, well, I guess it's not a complete scam.
Yeah, those have been around for a long time. I was tempted to get it, but back then I was a heavy coffee and soda drinker.
They have coffee flavors now.
This is like my first, whatever. It's my first, second cup of coffee today.
Well, but I went from drinking like maybe 2 bottles of water and an energy drink and like 9 cans of pop a day to I'm drinking 4 42-ounce bottles of water a day.
Nice.
What is the thing on the top? What does it do? What is its function?
So you put your flavor packet in there.
No, This is the flavor packet.
Correct.
Okay, so you're sucking water through it and it gives you the flavors.
And you can control how strong you want the flavor to be. So like when you have orange, you can turn it down. So it's like, like when you go to a fancy hotel and they have the water with stuff floating in it in the hotel, it tastes like that. Or you can turn it way up and it tastes like orange Gatorade, or you can turn it way, way up and it basically tastes like licking an orange peel.
So you can get one of those soda stream machines and carbonate your water and just drink it out of there, and you've got yourself carbonated soda. We at our store, we actually carry a product called Magic Straws, and they're straws for milk and water. So you drink through those, and they're basically, kids love it because it's flavored water and flavored milk. Basically, it's a similar concept as this.
You don't not to tell anyone not to buy anything, but don't buy a soda stream because if they explode, they will ruin your hand and you won't be able to draw anymore. I can't remember which artist that happened to. Dale Eaglesham, maybe. Had a soda stream malfunction and the bottle exploded and it hurt his hand, so he can't draw real anymore. He has to draw digital now.
That sucks.
Also, it tastes garbage. Like, let's be real. Even the new Pepsi flavor of SodaStream doesn't taste like Pepsi. It tastes like if you ordered Pepsi off Wish.com. Speaking of Wish.com, Sunday night at WrestleMania.
Good segue. We did get 15 seconds in. I like it.
I saw the little wheel, or the hourglass from Windows, like in Mark's brain for half a second there.
Funny thing about WrestleMania from this weekend, I had a lot of people on my feed mention, "Hey, we're going to WrestleMania." I did not know it was in LA. I was just like, wow.
That's okay. Neither did WWE. So neither did they. So
it's true.
It was that bad, huh?
Well,
the biggest celebrity they had was from San Francisco.
Kevin Hart's from San Francisco?
No, the biggest celebrity they had. Well, Snoop Dogg was there. I guess he's bigger than.
But
George
does he
Kittle?
count because he's WWE Hall of Fame?
Right. George Kittle was the biggest celebrity they had, and he's a tight end for the San Francisco 49ers. Meanwhile, they're at SoFi Stadium. They couldn't get a Charger or a Ram. No. We got to get a 49er.
Yeah, they couldn't even get Aaron Donald. Should have got Aaron Donald.
I think they were just too busy making their deal. They didn't really care about the WrestleMania this weekend.
I would have said that was untrue Saturday night. Well, after watching Saturday night, which would have been yesterday afternoon, but no, I think that's probably the truth.
That they were just more concerned about the deal than the WrestleMania?
So Saturday WrestleMania was really, really good. Like, I was shocked at how much I liked it because
I'm
much
shocked
like a
that
Marvel
you were
movie,
shocked that
I
you
go
liked
into WWE events prepared to be disappointed. And Saturday night was really, really good. And then Sunday night was just the worst wrestling event I've seen put on by a major promotion in years. So I think they probably were like, oh, this deal's going to happen. Everyone focus on this. What do we do about the show? We're literally in the middle of, I don't know. Don't worry about it.
All right, Mark, you got to tell us what your thoughts are.
Well, I mean, I'm coming at it from a way different angle because I feel like I'm taking. It would be like if we were talking about comics, and I'm trying to have the pro big two side, right? Like the DC Marvel side, and then Kyle would be like the indie comics side. So he's going to win out as far as being like a wrestling fan and a wrestling purist and all that. But I will say, I thought my reservations for Monday night, looking at the card, came in. So for those of you who don't know, there's been a storyline with the Bloodline really going on for 2 years, but with Sami Zayn aspect of it been going on for 10 months. And again, like not having watched wrestling the last 20 years, but maybe like the last 2 years, by far and away the best attempt at a storyline that I've seen in what would be the DC and Marvel of wrestling right now, which is AEW, right? And there was a lot of the word controversy is always thrown around. There was a lot of questions put towards WWE, like should Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair, who's obviously like a legacy wrestler after her dad, Ric Flair, should they be the main event on Saturday because you guys did not have women main event last year? And the answer probably was yes, but story-wise, they decided to go with the tag team, which I believe was the first tag team to headline WrestleMania since WrestleMania 1, if I may be incorrect about that. But I thought all the matches minus Pat McAfee and The Miz lived up, which was not on the card, let's be clear. And that's where the whole George Kittle thing came in. But minus them playing like random musical guests right before the main event, which everyone's been waiting for a month. I thought that Saturday was pretty close to perfect as you could get for like the biggest, the name brand, if you will. It would be like kind of like criticizing a Coca-Cola commercial in the Super Bowl. Really, I mean, it would have to be pretty bad for you to really sink your teeth into it. But after I saw, I really was hoping that something was going to happen in kayfabe where WrestleMania Night 2 got canceled. Because if I was the writers and the promoters and Triple H and everyone involved, I would be like, well, we can't do Sunday anymore, or we're gonna have to just rewrite the entire thing because there was almost no way. I mean, not to mention the fact that the weakest of all the matches, which Kyle can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but of Omos versus Brock Lesnar was Sunday. So you're already like off to a horrible start, regardless of like.
I fell asleep during that match.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, and but now that we know about that sale, it makes you wonder, like, oh, is that why Brock Lesnar was there? Oh, is that why Ronda Rousey won what was a really great fatal 4-way tag team women's match up until that point by doing like the worst finisher in wrestling, in my opinion? Is that why? Because now, it's no coincidence really now that, she's teamed up with Shayna Baszler, another wrestler with MMA background. So I don't know. I just don't know. And then the whole like, oh, you forgot about the special celebrity in the uh, Logan Paul Power Raid costume CSI or whatever his name is. CSI, KSA, PSA, KSI, whatever.
So here's the deal, right? If you take Austin Theory, John Cena, and Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul out of Saturday night, it's the perfect wrestling event. It really is. If you take them out, because you're going to replace them with from last night, from this night 2, you're going to replace them with the main event, which was wildly disappointing and poor writing, but still a great match between Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes, grandson of a plumber.
Yes. And you're going to replace, I would argue that you replace the other match with the Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Shotzi, with the women's tag team match.
Can I rewrite the ending to that?
Or you would replace it with the Intercontinental title match. One of the two. Those were great matches on Sunday. But here's my take on it. And I said this from the beginning. Or I said this from the minute it went off the air last night. Saturday night, they made a great wrestling event. Sunday night, they made you feel bad for being a wrestling fan because they treated you like a child. They spoon-fed you the storylines. They spoon-fed you. I don't know what Miss Jen's doing, but I'm going to mute her microphone just in case she starts talking to someone random. They spoon-fed you all of the stuff. Like they didn't trust you to follow the storylines they were telling. Whereas Saturday night they did. Now, is that because Triple H and Vince McMahon and Nick Khan and Stephanie and all these people who are important to this are off somewhere negotiating with the people in the UFC? Maybe. Stuff happens. Are they setting up what could be maybe the greatest backlash of all time? Maybe. But I shouldn't feel like I shouldn't feel like the company that wants me to claim to be a wrestling fan is telling me that I should be ashamed to be a wrestling fan by putting shameful product on the air. And here's the problem, right? And Brainy, you may have noticed, you may not have, because it's WrestleMania weekend, there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of wrestling events in LA. There were huge wrestling events all over the country. There was 27 just within like this 15-mile radius in New Jersey this weekend because they called it the Deathmatch WrestleMania. And all of these deathmatch wrestlers went to New Jersey and wrestled. Right? So like there's a lot of wrestling this weekend. And in a weekend where so much great wrestling happened, to have a night that isn't perfect is an incredible mistake because you have more eyes than you ever have. You have more chances to create new fans than you ever have. And you're just blowing it. So, Friday night Supercard of Honor made me cry. It was so great. Saturday night's WWE WrestleMania was phenomenal. And then Sunday, I wanted to throw a brick at my television.
Now,
Anyway.
we can get off of this topic sooner than later. But go ahead.
So I didn't get to watch any wrestling because I was at a convention all weekend.
Was Space Cadets at several conventions this weekend?
3.
Yeah, 3. Wow, that's WrestleMania Card of Honor right there.
That's right. That's why I was looking at my legs. And I was like, well, I keep on thinking that I'll eventually figure out how to load things out of my store and into the truck and into a convention center without bruising my entire body, but that's not this week.
Yeah. So Kyle, to wrap up what I was going to say is, you said the last match had bad writing. What would you have done different? I mean, I here's where I'm conflicted because again, like you've followed this your whole life, I haven't. So my favorite one of my favorite things in the world of wrestling is the Netflix series Glow, right? And at the end of season 1, Mark Maron turns to the main character and says, "Well, the money's in the chase." So I just wonder, like, how much of it is that, and how much of it is, oh, Roman Reigns needs to be on day 999 when we go to Saudi Arabia to make $1 bajillion from all the, backers there.
Here's the thing. Outcome doesn't matter of that match. Did I want Cody to win it? Yes. Because the longer you leave the belt on Roman Reigns, the harder it is to take it off of him.
Yeah.
Right? It just becomes impossible. If the guy has beat everybody 9 times to be champion this long, all of a sudden he's not going to lose. Right? That's just not how that works. If you're going to leave the belt on Roman Reigns, which is what they did, he has to win clean. He has to beat Cody Rhodes, not his cousin's brother's cousin, who is the 4th member of the bloodline, comes in and hits a Samoan spike and runs away after being thrown out from ringside. Right? Like, it's a dirty finish, and it doesn't actually put your top star, your top heel over. It puts this other guy who's at NXT over. Right? And like, when you have a whole gimmick that it's, these guys are just adjacent to The Rock, so we're going to call them the Bloodline, and we're going to talk about how great their wrestling family is. That's great. No problem. But they can't be infallible because The Rock wasn't infallible. The Rock lost. These guys have to lose. So again, I think if he wins clean, it's great because now the money's in the chase, right? Oh, he beat me, but like, look at this match that he beat me in. Like, okay, fine. But because it's, oh, he had to cheat to win. Now it's this. Well, if he's going to cheat to win, then why doesn't he just come out with a 12-gauge shotgun and shoot his opponent? There's no story there anymore. So,
but isn't that part of being a heel, though? But isn't that what makes him a heel, is that he cheated? Sure,
but when a heel wins, especially when he's been a champ this long, you need him to win on his own. Right? Because now there's no chase. Now Cody's going to have to beat almost 9 times to become the number 1 contender again. Right? Now it's this whole thing like you've squashed the best feud you had with someone who isn't your guy. And here's the thing, when I say win clean, if Roman Reigns hits Cody with a chair and Cody's out cold, okay, fine. Right? Roman did that. It's the fact that he wasn't the impetus to his own victory is the problem.
Well, and also as a fan, I thought the Bloodline was dead once Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens won on Saturday night. I just had assumed, okay, well then this is over. We can move on. Roman Reigns can take a 6-month vacation. So it was I had read a bunch of comments like, well, there has to be a swerve Sunday because there was no swerves on Saturday. So I was just wondering your thoughts.
There were no swerves on Sunday.
That. Well, I thought Cody was going to win. And every podcast I listened to thought Cody was going to win.
But Roman Reigns is the champ. So it's not a swerve if the champ wins.
Oh, okay. But I mean, you've already started this whole like annihilation of the Bloodline thing, which day 1 kind of solidified, and then you just go away from it. It doesn't make any sense.
It's a 24-hour swerve. Like, it's not a thing.
Okay.
WrestleMania was stronger when it was one night. So
I'm on the same boat. I don't know if they needed a 2-night or 3-night.
They're trying to fill too much time. I will say this. Can I say my highlight of WrestleMania, and then we'll move on because a lot of other important stuff has happened. Shane McMahon comes out to fight The Miz on Sunday night and immediately blows out his quad, a la his father 9 times over the course of his career. And rather than being like, oh no, what do we do? Snoop Dogg, who is the co-host of WrestleMania, jumps in the ring, delivers 2 stiff right hands to The Miz, and then drops the people's elbow. Like, that wasn't scripted. That was Snoop Dogg being like, I know how to fill time as an entertainer, so I'm just going to do my thing. And comes out the biggest champ, the biggest winner. Like, and they're backstage going, oh my God, Snoop Dogg just people's elbowed The Miz. None of that was scripted. None of that was planned. That was him just improvising. And I was here for it. So I did start a petition online to call Snoop's finisher the Snoop Doggy Drop. Is it the modified elbow drop? So we'll see what happens. So other big news that we kind of referenced already, WWE has sold to Endeavor Holdings, which is the primary owner of UFC, which actually makes it a merger with UFC. So WWE and UFC will become one company. I don't know how that's going to work out. A bunch of athletes and a bunch of sports entertainers trying to sports entertain everyone. Could be great. Could be weird. I'm here for it, though. I would love to see Dana White, and like real legit MMA fighters getting involved at WWE stuff and vice versa, right? Like a Seth Rollins type is someone who's capable of, if he trained hard enough or, just started training because of his background already, could conceivably get into a UFC fight, especially like with another sort of celebrity kind of situation. So it'd be cool. We haven't done a show since Disney made Ron DeSantis look like a moron. Do we want to talk about that? Because it's the most hilarious story ever.
Go for it.
Yeah, sure.
So the governor of Florida decided that because Disney had opposed some legislation he was in favor of, that he was going to take control of Disney, essentially. And the way he was doing that was by removing Disney existed as sort of its own county in Florida, right? Where they had oversight. They were responsible for the roads. They were responsible for the sewers. They were responsible for the water. Disney really was the local government of this community. And so DeSantis stripped that away by appointing a board to oversee this area. But before he did, in fact, the night before that he signed the bill, the board of trustees of Disney voted basically to remove all power from that board and cede it back to Disney corporate. For such a time until 21 years after the last living descendant of King Charles III. That is the exact wording of the law.
Wow.
Yeah.
Math.
They used the royal clause. So the last living descendant of King Charles III. So like the grandkids, if they have, like, it keeps extending as more generations of Prince Charles's kids are born. Grandkids are born.
Yep.
So Bob Iger, Disney's petty, and I love it. Bob Iger's like, if you're going to be anti-Florida, Disney's going to make you look like a moron. And sure enough, they did. Do we have any thoughts? Like, I want to put somewhere that something can't happen until the last living descendant of my living descendants is dead. Right? Like, I don't know what, but I love the idea of something being perpetual based on procreation.
But I would just choose something that none of us will ever see. It's like when our star dies.
Right.
And then who will care anyway?
I'm going to bury this piece of paper in the ground and no one's allowed to dig it up or open it until the last living descendant of my living descendants has descended. Let's see. We got the Blue Beetle trailer, which I watched inadvertently.
Sorry, was it because I was being loud?
No, I'm on
Okay.
TikTok earlier.
Oh, okay.
And I thought I was watching a trailer for something else. And I'm like, nope, this is Blue Beetle. Well, I'm too far invested now to turn it.
What did you think it was?
I honestly, because I only saw the part where like he's got the box from the Big Belly Boy.
Yeah.
Big Belly Burger. All I saw was the last second of that. I'm like, oh, maybe it's a Good Burger trailer.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I didn't know what it was because I wasn't paying close attention. And all of a sudden, oh, this is Blue Beetle. All right, I'm in. I'm too far committed. So I watched it. I liked it.
Yeah, I was thinking, this seems like they have got their stuff figured out.
Right.
Some humor, family. It's like they watched some, Into the Spider-Verse films before they decided on how to do this.
Or they read the comic book.
Or they read the comic book. Crazy source material.
I know, right?
That kid was in the Cobra Kai's, right? So I recognize that kid
I
from.
think so. Yeah, I think so.
I couldn't figure out where I recognize that actor from. I think he's perfect for Blue Beetle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like all the special effects look really good. It's like it's not like we haven't seen a character that had this kind of like mech suit stuff going on for them, so we can wrap our mind around it.
I still found I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around George Lopez, and that it's still a little weird to me.
Well, that just means you know that there's going to be some jokes about how mean his mother was.
Right.
And some jokes that are clearly stolen from someone else.
I think I saw him live at Six Flags one time. He had a set that they did live there. It was really funny. This was long ago, early married years.
You know what's weird about George Lopez is I never turn on the TV for George Lopez, but I also never turn off the TV for George Lopez.
Oh.
So he never gets old or bothers me, but I also don't really seek him out. So I'm fine with it.
I'm not a fan of Lopez versus Lopez.
See, that's what I was talking about. I just started playing and I was like, this is fine.
Right.
I mean,
I did really enjoy the George Lopez show.
Yeah. That was definitely better, but
Lopez
it's
versus
like, as you know, Kyle, like sitcoms are kind of few and far between right now, so
It's true, man. So we need to work hard to protect Not Dead Yet and Abbott Elementary and Night Court and Animal Control.
I'm really getting tired of the break the four wall narrative kind of shows. They're starting to all sound the same now. Yeah, the office model basically.
I'm not sure any of them really do that much. Abbott Elementary does.
It does it quite often.
Yeah, but that's
Core does not.
right. That's really it.
Well, what the hell was I watching that did the same thing?
I don't know, but in just over a month and a half, I've watched 103 episodes of Barney Miller.
Oh,
wow.
You know what I fell back in love with? I knew I liked the show, but I hadn't watched one in so long to remember why I love the show so much. I just happened to be sitting on the hotel bed in between my, all night Forensic Files watching like I always do. And the morning news that always is on when I wake up. And I'm like, no, I don't want to know news. That's horrible. But right after that on HSN, Fringe pops on. And I was like, so now there's 2 episodes that I didn't get to finish because I had to run off to the convention. And I'm like going, man, this is a great show. Daggum. And
we just lost Lance Riddick.
I know. I was like, I saw him on screen and I was like going, oh. Anna Torv, man, just she's so good.
Next super old sitcom that I'm going back to is the original Bob Newhart show.
Oh, yes.
Not Newhart, not Daryl and my other brother Daryl. The one before that.
Okay.
The 1960s one, 50s.
Yeah, so it'll be the Newhart show, then Newhart.
So then, are we going to watch Faulty Towers next?
I haven't watched Faulty Towers in a long time. I could be convinced.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of trailers that I haven't watched, there's a Secret Invasion trailer.
No, I haven't watched it either, but I did just order a lot of trade paperbacks because I could see what's happening here. We sold two copies this weekend. People were about it.
Did they already do a Scroll War kind of thing? I'm trying to remember. I'm just getting my the Scroll Wars. Didn't they already do that? That was the premise behind the first Avengers movie.
No, they give us a little bit of scrolling for
Captain Marvel,
and then they kind of like we end up with one scroll that we like, and then the other we know there's one that's missing, right? I think that's where this is going to pop up.
Okay, so I guess that's the premise behind the new Secret Invasions.
Secret Invasion premieres January 21st on Disney Plus. Maybe by then I'll have watched The Mandalorian.
I thought they would make a movie out of Secret Invasion because that's a great story arc for a feature film. But I guess they just want more time to rebuild around it, I suppose.
I've made a decision, and let me get your opinion on it. Because I'm struggling with the new season of Ted Lasso.
Uh-oh.
And the reason being is that I've only known Ted Lasso in its completed form. Right? I didn't start watching it until after season 2 was out. So I was able to just watch it all as a binge, right? Mandalorian, I watched 2 seasons in like 3 days to come on this show. So I've never known The Mandalorian as a once a week thing. And I'm struggling with Ted Lasso because it's like, okay, the episode's over. We'll play the next one now. And there isn't one. And it's making me a little nuts. So I've decided I'm not going to watch The Mandalorian or pay attention to The Mandalorian until it's done. And then I'm going to watch it. And I'm going to watch it as fast as possible. Because that's the only way I've ever watched The Mandalorian. And like with new sitcoms, with Night Court or whatever, I don't mind it being once a week. Because that's the only way I've known this series of Night Court, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really struggling with things that I know as bingeables not being bingeable.
Well, also, the way Ted Lasso and Mandalorian are written, they want you to wait for the next episode. It's designed for the story to continue to the next episode, wherein Night Court is not.
Right.
It's a 22-minute sitcom that's going to end at the end of the episode. So
right, they're episodic one-bite stories, not... Right, not overall story arcs. So I think by doing that, it will prevent me from not liking things for that reason, right? Like, I feel like if I start watching The Mandalorian, I'll be like, this is awful. Why is it like this? Don't be like this. Do better. And it'll have nothing to do with the content of the show. It'll have everything to do with the way I'm consuming the content. Because I'm trying to judge every episode individually as opposed to as a whole season. I think that's why I feel the way I feel about Boba Fett.
Mandalorian season 2.5.
Well, I mean, or the one where Kyle is in the Mandalorian or in the Boba Fett show with his D&D character. I played a Wookiee in a D&D campaign, a Star Wars based D&D campaign called Chewy Nachos. That's what we called him. Who was a black-haired assassin Wookiee. And then 6 months later, Jason Aaron comes out with a black-haired assassin Wookiee. And then 5 years later, it's in The Mandalorian. I'm like, I was a prophet.
So
Dungeons and Dragons.
That was exactly what I was going to talk about. Does anyone else see D&D?
I'm double featuring on Thursday.
But I've heard great reviews about it, which is awesome.
I got to take my son as a reward because our convention schedule had us all spread out as a staff. I needed a second person to go with me to convention, and my youngest son, has never done such a thing. He's the more resistant to comic booking than my oldest, who worked for me for a couple of years. And so, as a reward for his hard work every day, I took him to go see. I went to took him to a really nice dinner, because he's 20 and needs lots of food, as he's like 6'2" and still growing. And I took him to go see this. We actually spanned between that and John Wick 4. He put it on one of those decision wheels on his phone. So fate took us to go see it. And it was delightful. It was really fun.
Don't tell my bosses, but those decision wheels are how I decide what to put in the preview email for the experience.
You're serious?
I just put all the shows for a night in a decision wheel and hit spin. And then whatever it is what goes in the email.
All right.
Well, because it keeps it random and it keeps it fair.
Yeah.
So I love it. So what did you think? How many gelatinous cubes were there? Were there so many gelatinous cubes?
Oh, so I will just tell you that it's been since 1980, 87 since I played D&D. So my mind is a little bit rusty on what the terminology for creatures are. But I will say that I enjoyed my time back in high school, and I used to play during lunch hour. I will just say that you can go watch the movie and not know anything, but I did enjoy it very much, because in my movie theater, like 3 rows down from me, it was clear that these people all were a D&D group, because they just were laughing and cutting up just as loud as you could possibly be for the whole movie. And then afterwards, they just stood up and talked for like forever. So yes, it has hit its target audience and is acceptable to people that are like, it's been a while.
Okay, but like, were there these cube-shaped things that look like Jell-O?
Yes, but I can't tell you how they use them, because it'll ruin stuff for you.
Were there a great many of them?
At least 2.
All right. The movie gets a 75 out of 15. I'm going to score it now.
And I forgot, you see them in the trailer, but I forgot what the creatures are that look like a Black Panther with like stabby things that come out of them. I don't know what those things are.
Chimera?
Oh, maybe. It's just like, it almost looks like it has like Venus flytraps that come off the front of it.
Isn't that Blue Beetle?
No.
I did read an article about how Dungeons and Dragons, they had a person on set who was helping them to make sure that they did the stuff right. So like that the magic users were using magic properly, and things like that. There's one big rule in Dungeons and Dragons that they ignored.
Uh-oh.
Which is resting time, because that's not interesting in a movie.
Yeah.
If characters have to sleep, like, you don't need to see that. Right?
Was there also, you guys have to remind me, was there like a limit on stuff you could carry in D&D? So I guess they just didn't really need to worry about that, because they didn't really ever have very much stuff. They're always struggling, so.
Right. You only had what could fit in your bag of holding.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was kind of limiting. But, there were other things that they said, like with some of the spells and stuff that they couldn't have cast. You can't cast in a game the way they cast it in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the process that goes into casting it in the game is interesting in the game. It's not interesting on screen. Like, you have to read 3 pages of this book to learn the incantation. Nobody wants to see your spellcaster go sit on a rock in the middle of combat to read a book.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just based on the article, having not seen it at all, I think I'm going to be good with the changes they made. I don't think I'm going to have as big of a problem with it as I may have been worried about having.
And it was true what the trailer said. Chris Pine got to be very Chris Piney, and I loved it.
So after I get off work, like here or whatever, it's usually pretty late. I have dinner, and then I watch the late night talk show guys because you don't have to think while they're on.
Mm-hmm.
And they had most of the cast on Colbert last week. And the guy who was also in Bridgerton, who was in this.
Oh, the Paladin, so very Paladin-y. He was Apex Paladin.
Well, he was talking about how this movie was great for his butt because there's a lot of crouching down.
Okay.
And his pants were very they didn't leave anything to the imagination really. So he had to get in the gym to make sure that his butt looked right. And so he talks about that one night, and 2 nights later, I almost said Hugh Jackman, but that's not it. Hugh Grant was on the show, and he goes, "Yeah, it's true. This movie was really good for your butt. I had to do a lot of crouching down too. I have a great ass." Like just, so I love that these guys are having fun with having made this movie and having to do press for this movie, because you could tell sometimes they're out doing press and they're like, I don't really want to be here, but it seems like they're having a good time with it.
So do you think this movie succeeds where World of Warcraft failed a few years ago, where they tried to make it almost too similar to a game and not be fun with it for fear of that universe, being made fun of, and the BlizzCon fans, maybe thinking they didn't take it seriously enough? Because it seems like this one's just fun and they don't care if you make fun of it. And I wonder if that has something to do with the fact of Dungeons and Dragons have been around so long that it's really lied dormant in the eyes of pop culture really until that Community episode. And then, of course, with Ferocity came back with Stranger Things. And I wonder if that has anything to do with how they deal with it to where it doesn't have to be super serious.
See, I don't know how much it lied dormant in pop culture, because it was always a part of like my pop culture.
Right. Well, pop culture is subjective.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is like I don't ever remember it not being in stuff, but that may have just been the stuff I was consuming is the stuff that had it. Mm-hmm. I think you might be onto something though. Like, I think Community definitely helped. I do think Stranger Things really has reignited the fandom, but I'll also tell you this. Gary Con is always a very busy, very popular convention. Gen Con is always a very busy, very popular convention. For the people who care, Dungeons and Dragons has never stopped being the thing. And so I think that's part of it too, right? Is it's just like, because people have been shepherding it along for so long, now when it's having this moment, it's able to capitalize. Whereas World of Warcraft has always been a little more niche, and like I was never a World of Warcraft player. I played StarCraft, which is different. But if you play Pathfinder or White Wolf or one of these other tabletop role-playing games, when you go see a Dungeons and Dragons movie, it's going to be a fair, it's the same thing. The terms might be different, and the dice you use might be different, but the storytelling is going to be the same. Whereas World of Warcraft, compared to other games, maybe isn't. I think if you compared a World of Warcraft movie to a Gears of War movie or a Call of Duty movie, you might get a better comparison.
And yeah, Stranger Things did make D&D a more mainstream property. A lot more people know about it. And also Amazon's Vox Machina also set a really good stage for it. And they learned, I'm assuming they learned from how well that show did. And that's, I'm sure that, again, I haven't seen the movie yet, so I have a feeling they followed that model. I'm sure.
Well, and that and this are a great model for the Warhammer 40K movie.
That's good. That's going to be interesting as well, because 40K it's a beast of its own.
Right.
A lot of people will not know the
right.
reference.
If they lean too much into that rules side, like Warcraft did, then it's not going to work. Whereas if they do like this one did, where they're pretty rules accurate, but this is what we're going to ignore.
And they can also, with 40K, they can just basically make it a mech war. All it is a futuristic mech war movie, and it might just do well. They may not have a storyline behind it.
Right. What was the kaiju movie?
Yeah, I mean, I hope they put a storyline because 40K has got a very good devoted story to it. So
yeah, real good lore.
Yep.
So, should we talk about new comics?
Sure.
Yeah.
There are some number ones that I'm particularly excited for this week. Unfortunately, for none of them could I get Miss Jen guests today.
We tried.
But, yeah. Well, I tried to get someone who was on an airplane. Codename Ric Flair, number one, from Scout Comics. I may or may not have tried to get James Hake to get me Ric Flair. I may or may not have tried to get my lawyer, who is also Ric Flair's lawyer, to get me Ric Flair. I was unsuccessful on all fronts.
Well, then I would have made you do the interview because since I know relatively little about wrestling, that would have made more sense.
I understand, but like, if I could have got him, oh man.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. From Dynamite.
You should have tried to at least get Ric Flair as Gardner, man. That's at least possible.
Well,
right?
I could have got Ric Flair's lawyer, which is less interesting.
What about Ric Flair's lawyers, Gardner's sisters, cousins, brother-in-law?
No. So here's I say he's my lawyer. The guy who handles my IP stuff, his firm also handles all of the stuff that Ric Flair's son-in-law does, Conrad Thompson, with all his podcasts and stuff, all their IP stuff. So we have a shared lawyer, and I'm like, hey, can you get me an email? And he's like, no. But for real, though, can you maybe email him and see if he would do this thing? No. All right, that's fair. So, attorney-client privilege or some crap. From Dynamite, Disney Villains, Scar number one.
So there's been a lot of talk about this book online. It's just like, and it's really kind of in relationship to, Dynamite's been kind of being real smart in doing a lot of these like beloved Disney coolnesses that we like, cartoons that we're very fond of, etc. And this is the first one of those kind of ones that was just like, why do we focus on the bad guy? But I don't know, the bad guys always look the coolest.
Why did they start with Scar? There are a lot of others they could have actually taken. A lot of villains that they could have used, especially.
I think Disney was willing to license them a fair amount of their villains, with a lot less, say, oversight than they're trying to have with Darkwing Duck and Gargoyles.
They could have taken Megabolt from Darkwing Duck and made him into and that basically had a tie-in with the Darkwing Duck series. They could have had a Megabolt, or even what was the bad guy that was the one that looked just like Darkwing Duck? Megaduck. Was it Megaduck?
I don't know, but
they could have gone with that as opposed to just going completely off grid and doing Scar. Not saying it was a bad decision. I'm just curious on why they went that route.
Well, because they're also doing Disney Villains Maleficent.
That could have been the first title.
Right, is also announced.
Yeah. Scar, he's not as popular as all the some of the other villains. Yeah.
I don't know. I would beg to differ. I think he's pretty popular just because Lion King's so popular.
He has a sexy voice.
I would say if they wanted to do something a little bit more timely, they should have started with Ursula.
Yep. Or Cruella
because the Little Mermaid's coming out. But I mean, like, I would assume at some point they're going to be doing the Evil Queen from Snow White as well. But that's sort of like
Isn't that
the four.
Maleficent?
No,
Which one's Maleficent?
the Maleficent is Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, she's the dragon lady.
Okay, then which one is Snow White?
Evil Queen. Like literally, she's just called Evil Queen.
Right, but like which one is the one where she falls asleep?
Sleeping
Beauty.
And what happens to Snow White?
Falls asleep later.
Seven Dwarfs.
Later though. Yes, they end up falling asleep a lot. Yes.
Well, when do they meet Mickey Mouse?
Snow White.
And after the beanstalk grows, they meet Mickey Mouse.
Okay.
Remember, Snow White was poisoned, wherein Sleeping Beauty she was technically poisoned as well.
Well, I mean,
I think I just made my
thing
point.
goes for Juliet. Oh, have you guys heard about this completely non-comic related? Unless there's a comic about it, which would be interesting. There's a new Broadway show called I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's about Juliet. Like, what if she did not kill herself? That's wild, huh?
See, what would be a great comic book story is if somebody wants to take the idea, Juliet doesn't stab herself, but decides to, get revenge, and goes after her own family, and starts, getting revenge for
That'd be wild.
Or Romeo dying. That'd be a cool comic book.
He's going to call it Killing Capulet. What are we going to call it?
Capulet. There you go.
Oh, yeah. And it's called And Juliet. That's what it's called. Or ampersand Juliet.
So Dark Horse has a new Matt Kint book coming out called Hairball.
I'm there. What's it about?
I don't know, but there's a cat on the cover with a bow tie and a severed finger. So
yeah, I'm totally reading that.
I assume it's going to be the comic book version of Banshees of Inisharan.
Yeah. That's a safe assumption.
A young girl with a black cat begins to suspect the innocuous beast is behind her troubles. Her parents fighting family plagues, innumerable supernatural horrors. She tries her best to rid herself of the creature. She discovers that maybe the cat is not evil after all, and a great terror may be behind the horrific events harming her life. So, Hairball by Matt Kint.
That sounds good.
By the way, trademark Killing Capulet.
I might steal that title.
I'm telling you, I need to start a company that's literally
just titles.
Yeah, about me making titles for people. I got weird skills.
The last new number one on my list this week is The Nasty from Vault Comics.
That one, they've been doing a lot of really good promotional reach out to retailers. Like the creative team has sent me multiple trailers and like early reading copies, PDFs. They're really trying to let people know what it's about before it's too late to order them.
There's also a book out that's not on my list, but that I may pick up called Dr. Corvus.
I don't know that one.
It is from, what company is it from? It is from Fantico. I just kind of like the cover is the whole reason I'm thinking about picking it up.
Don't say that. There's publishers watching. They'll be like, oh, we just need to do covers. You don't need to do interior stories.
No, but the thing about the cover is that it's not particularly good, but there are a ton of goblins. And I'm trying to get over my problems with goblins.
Oh. And I know that Spider-Man, I think it's 7, comes out this week. And they finally revealed the spoiler cover, or the artist did. They're introducing Spider-Boy. So you get to see his costume for the first time. So it's going to be, and then also it looks like they're giving, I guess, Miles new different powers. That's what at least the ad copy looks like for it. So it kind of like launches a new storyline or a story arc. So if you just want to join somewhere, Seven's the place to grab up.
So how is Spider-Boy any different than Spider-Man, who was a 16-year-old kid, and Miles Morales, who was about the same age?
We'll find out. Maybe literally this is his new persona.
Peter Parker's or Spider-Boy? We don't know who Spider-Boy is. You're right. We won't know until, I guess. I'm sure somebody's read the book already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the spoiler reveal cover is really, really pretty. It's going to be maybe the one that gets grabbed up most quickly. I actually went and ordered some more today, just for in case.
I tried. I don't think we're going to get them filled because all the retailers who found out about it over the weekend probably ordered heavy on them already. The downfall of, and this is something we've discussed in the past, is when they don't reveal covers, a lot of retailers are under order because if you're if you're selling a specific cover, if you're doing a variant cover, you've got to be able to show the cover. Yeah. And if you don't, people won't order it.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough on us and it's tough, I'm sure, on them really, because they can't really reveal too much because they know that there are some leaks in the system where they'll be like, okay, retailers all swear they won't say anything. Let us know what we should order up on. And if they tell us the what, then oftentimes it gets leaked to Bleeding Cool, which is stupid. Or they'll say, you should order this copy just because we say, and then we don't know what that means, right? Like, do you mean this is like world-changing AF-15, or is this someone gets a new color on their suit that's going to last one issue, which has also happened. So it's tough on us to decide. So when you go to your local comic shop, don't yell at them if they didn't order 20 billion copies of something, because they didn't know either when they were making their orders.
That's why you make those covers returnable.
That's true. That makes so much sense. When you say, I believe in a thing so much, I will make it returnable because I think you need to have it.
Yep.
Or my other favorite thing is there are some publishers out there that will just say, we're just going to double your orders magically and not make you pay for it because we love you.
Yep.
Those are my other favorites.
Except our distributors make us pay for it by jacking up our... Never mind. I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah, that's another show for another night. All right. Anybody else have anything they wanted to mention?
Well, I just saw that Matt Kemp book, Hairball, you can pre-order like the collected edition for November, and it's got fake cat hair on the cover. So yeah, why not? More books with faux cat hair.
Yeah, man.
Yes,
I'm tired of these gimmicks.
That's fine.
It's a YA, all ages. Danger and Other Unknown Risks, from Penguin, out this week. Written by Ryan North. Really good book.
And just as a reminder, hot books from last week, just in case your local comic shop still has it, and a book that retailers have started to ask Marvel to please reprint is It's Jeff.
It's Hefe.
Oh, and because I think you rely on me for this, Sandman Universe Nightmare Country trade paperback and hardcovers are going back into print and being released this week. So if you bought all the Sandman trade paperbacks during the last run when I mentioned it to you every week, make sure you go out and buy Nightmare Country now. There is a direct market hardcover and a mass market trade paperback.
We can't get enough Corinthian.
This is true. You can't get enough Corinthian.
I don't know if I can ever say that there'll be a more favorite episode of Sandman than the one where they all go to the cereal convention.
I know, right? Oh no,
I saw a piece of news. I didn't get to read it yet, so I didn't bring it up. But I saw that there was a piece of news about Sandman season 2 release dates.
Oh,
Probably just that they're going to announce the release date soon. So,
or cancel it, knowing Netflix.
Yeah. So, all right. Anything else?
Do you think they might be able to tell the remainder of the Sandman story in season 2?
No.
They may have to.
No, but I think where they're going to head in season 2, I think they can get to a very satisfying conclusion.
Maybe end it with Daniel? Think so?
Yep. So, all right. Thank you for watching Nerd News Now, part of the Kingdom of Geekdom on Woodlands Online, sponsored by the Adventure Begins Comics and Games and Space Cadets Collection. Check out other shows on Woodlands Online, like Weekly Fallout Sports Talk, The Adventure Begins Show, For Reals, The Best You, Between the Trees Business Talk, and much more. You can watch all of these on Woodlands Online and on our partner station, KVQT HD21, over the air on your television. All these shows and more on Roku right now. Just search and add Woodlands Online TV to your streaming lineup. Now you can listen to our podcast versions of these shows on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Amazon. Plus, wherever else fine podcasts are provided for free. So, for Justin, who's not here, Mark, Miss Jen, and Brainy, I've been Kyle. This is the part where we all freeze and I try and click a button without looking.